Hey there, welcome to episode 121 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. We're recording this at 10:45 in the morning on Friday, June 20th, 2025. Yes, I've been trying to record the night before the normal publication days for my various audio programs. Got a little tired last night, it's the way it is. In case you're wondering, my leg is recovering nicely. I talk about that more in the Coffee Solo audio programs, which I will mention soon. If you are new to the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program, what is this? Well, Cafe Genius Impresarios is about the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem of the greater Vegas area. More importantly, it's about the people who make that go. Those are the impresarios. Cafe Genius itself was formed as a sort of a umbrella club effort. It's not a formal company or nonprofit or anything. It's just a container for efforts along these lines. Cafe with two F's is an homage to Cafe Centro. Specifically, it's a spelling you'll find in some parts of the world for a cafe or a coffee. Cafe Centro was where startups started. That was their tagline. They were located at South Park, San Francisco, very near the AT&T, now Oracle ballpark. Sadly, the Cafe Centro did not make it all the way through post-pandemic. It closed, I think, about a little bit more, more than a year ago. But the notion lives on, and I've often said greater Vegas area needs more than one Cafe Centro. So maybe that's Mothership Coffee. I'm not sure. We'll see. There's some infrastructure that could go around that, which I've talked about previously, and we'll talk about again in the future. And then Genius goes along with the Genius Lunch, something I've done an entire episode about now, in which we have deferred. The inaugural Genius Lunch gathering is to be in the future as I speak today on June 20th. We were going to go for June 4th, then we were going to go for June 11th. It is difficult to get people to show up or to even indicate that they might show up. And thus, the title of today's episode, Oh, Vegas. That's probably the way to say it. Oh, Vegas. So the Cafe Genius Impresarios is about enabling our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, what we can do about it, how we can make it happen. I am not a fan of those who believe you can build an ecosystem. You can certainly put the pieces in place. Can you build a rainforest? Yeah, sort of. You can certainly plant seeds for trees, or you can plant saplings. You can plant trees that would fit into a rainforest ecosystem. You can bring in some of the animals. The flora and the fauna can all be imported and placed. And then what happens? Well, if it was a desert before, it's going to be a desert again, unless you pump a lot of energy into it and resources in general. So I don't believe in building ecosystems. I do believe in providing the ingredients, the components, the elements, and what will flourish will flourish. And so that's a common thing to talk about on our episode here. So if you're new, that's the general idea today. Oh, Vegas. And hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description. It will contain the show notes, including a summary that I'll read to you. And this week, it's since this is more of a rant, only the 4 shameless self-promotion links for your shameless host. That would be me. If we ever do have guests here again, this would be a place where I would also put the guests' links, like where to find them or whatever they're working on, their startup or their book or their website in general, etc. So let us begin so that we might end on this lovely Friday. A little mini rant, that's this episode, a little mini rant on the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem as it is today, and as it may be for a while, unfortunately. The shameless self-promotion links, as I mentioned, 2 of them, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, DANHUGO, that's still me. The general profile page is found there, has links to all of my audio programs, my various projects, my favorite coffee beans, those are affiliate links, a couple of other affiliate links, and also at the very top, a link to the Buy Me an Update audio program buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts, a Monday morning 5-minute episode, a rundown on the previous week's audio programs, their subjects, and any news and announcements, any updates into the future. The second pair, Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com. The hyphen is next to the 0 on most keyboards, /Dan Hugo. And then the Coffee Solo audio program I mentioned, that is not published on any particular schedule. It has no particular topic. It's just stuff. Ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo/posts is where you'll find that. You can see some symmetry between these two platforms. Something else they have in common, you're not expected or required in any way. You're not obligated to spend any money on either of them to get the things that I just mentioned. You are welcome to. Any funds that arrive through either of these platforms go directly towards coffee or coffee accessories, and you'll probably get a shout out, probably. I don't remember because it's been a while, but I don't really ask or demand any funds at all, but you're welcome to, and it will go towards coffee or coffee accessories. It's what powers all these efforts, the coffee. So on with the show, and I will say it right now because you're going to say it to yourself, maybe to others. I talk about this a lot. Anyone who has listened to any number of the Cafe Genius Impresarios episodes knows that I think the greater Vegas area is in need of some real attention if there's any notion of making a global innovation hub happen here. Now, I'm not against the idea, but I think the cart is way ahead of the horse. Now, to be clear, this status quo enables some innovation. Entrepreneurs can thrive here if they are creative. And that's pretty much true anywhere to a degree. You can, if you're a creative entrepreneur and you find yourself in a place where that is allowed, it doesn't necessarily have to be encouraged, but as long as you're free to be entrepreneurial, you can make something happen if you have the wherewithal, if you have the gumption, if you like, or as some political figures might say, the chutzpah. But there is a theory that posting on LinkedIn daily about the greater Vegas area, rivaling the San Francisco Bay Area as a global innovation hub, has an I wrote has, and that threw me off. As an innovation hub, and is somehow taking over the world as a lead not only in fun, but in entrepreneurialism, innovation, biotech, movie and media production, maybe manufacturing. And the list goes on. It's amazing. That's the theory anyway. I read about it on LinkedIn. The problem with this notion is talk is cheap. And I know because I'm doing it right now. From what I can see of the people, the players, if you like, in the ecosystem here in Greater Vegas today, there is a lot of waiting for someone else to do something. Incentives are only one thing. They're one thing that has been thrown around a bit, and they are not coming to fruition for the Hollywood 2.0 notion. But why is there so much weight placed on meetups, but not much on, say, education or infrastructure? Just have a meetup. That'll do it. Just make sure you're in the same room. It smacks of the serendipitous collisions of the downtown project days. Those are not bad, but they are not something to base an economy on. They are not a business plan. And I'm sure there is a business plan. I'm sure there are plans for making the most of this already fabulous global innovation hub more fabulous, I guess. There's the show me something first mantra, however, this notion, it's part of the culture. I encountered this myself when I was meeting with the CTO of the city, the director of disruption, the funny guy known as Michael E. Sherwood. I'm referring to his performance as a member of our city government. I have no idea what he is like otherwise, so I'm not commenting on him personally, but I did meet with him in his office in City Hall. So that's the context. All of my engagements with Michael E. Sherwood have been at city functions or in a official meeting where I was describing during that meeting the efforts to reboot Code for Vegas, which was supported by and in fact worked collaboratively with the city of Las Vegas almost a decade earlier. It was before Michael E. Sherwood had his position with the city on the still existing open data platform. So that the open data platform exists due in part to the volunteer efforts of the original Code for Vegas membership. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses, but I had just come to Vegas when they were doing this, and I had gotten a job with Intel, and I was rarely around. So I think if I had any idea that this was happening, I would have taken much more of an interest at the time. So I came to the party late. The party was already over, so we restarted the party. Hopefully I get credit for that at least. And I would love to work with the city collaboratively. Or would I? When I asked if we could expect any sort of collaboration or support from the city today, and this was about 3 years ago, I was told by Michael E. Sherwood, and he is the city CTO. Basically, the two top positions in this sort of tier are Michael E. Sherwood and now Dana Babsky. So she's economic development, urban planning and economic development, I think it is. And then anything technology related, Michael E. Sherwood. I was told that the city needs to be careful who it gets behind. I reminded him that we're called to Code for Vegas. We're already getting behind the city, and we've already been behind the city in a collaborative effort, the Open Data Project. So we are there. We're ready to join in. I will pause here so you can reflect on some of the news items that you may have come across over the last 3 years. The city is definitely involved in some things or some people or some entities that should have one wondering about that. Were you careful? The take home, he wanted to see something first. Show me what you got, if you're familiar with that expression. This is not real, or lyric, if you like. This is not really how one might enable an innovation hub. If I compare this to the way one might float ideas in the real Silicon Valley, especially in its early days, as we know it today, in the early 90s. Now, I've already done an entire episode, number 85, one of my favorites, about the history of Silicon Valley and the culture of innovation there, which really began its early sort of rumblings, like an earthquake, in the mid to late 1800s. So it's been around a while. You can't just sprinkle it on top like a dessert topping. Apathy and even a little bit of adversary is not the way to go into this scenario. I haven't spoken with Michael E. Sherwood since. He kind of ditched. I invited him to one of our monthly meetups. He said, yeah, that'd be great. And then he never communicated with me again. That's Vegas. On the other hand, if we are going to see some endorsement of this part of the city or city adjacent agencies and entities, it will be a larger established corporation or those with money who could enable those things. That is who the city gets behind. I've spoken of this before. Someone with Silicon Valley money can come in and tell a story here, and the city folks, not just Las Vegas, by the way, but definitely Las Vegas, they will listen. And in fact, they will be excited about it. I cannot tell you the joy in the faces of people when Andreessen Horowitz was thinking of establishing a real presence here. Not so much. Ben Horowitz lives here with his wife. They donated some Cybertrucks to the LVMPD, I guess. That's probably all you need to know about that. But yeah, Mark Andreessen not living in Las Vegas. He's trying to start a new town in California. But those are the people who get attention. So if you have Silicon Valley money and you can tell your story, you will definitely be welcome. The doors will be open, the velvet rope removed from your way. Money, celebrity, and halo effect matter here. So you better have at least two if you want to be seen and heard. If you're just somebody trying to build a startup or a nonprofit to elevate communities, you better show us something first, or we will not tell you what time it is. That's not universally true, but it's not true either. It is easy, but also difficult. Suppose you wanted to form an innovation hub of some kind, maybe here in Vegas. Maybe you're going to call it a global innovation hub, hoping to increase the chances that someone participating will present some problem-solving, world-elevating notion that can actually happen. An innovation which is actually implementable, not fantasy. Whom would you allow to participate? Or maybe put another way, whom would you prevent from participating? If you are into service configs, have you configured your web server lately, for example? You may know of the allow, deny access options when you can, or where you can allow first or deny first. And I think we have something like this in Vegas. They've gone with deny first. Based on my own experiences, not only with Michael E. Sherwood, but definitely with Michael E. Sherwood, we have a greater chance to win with an allow first approach. We don't have that. That is, if we assume or let us assume that people who want to form nonprofits or startups or pursue some sort of entrepreneurial bent are serious people. They're setting out to do a thing, right? They are not sitting on their couch talking about doing a thing. They're doing it. Maybe they are not even that far along. And ironically, the aspirational group is enabled, or at least enabled more so, here in the greater Vegas area, here in our locality. So it might not just be Vegas area, Henderson, Clark County, Southern Nevada. If you think you might want to start something, great. But once you start something, you better do more work because we are not impressed. And again, that was my take home from my meeting with that city person. If in an allow first approach, we let people who have taken those initial steps, we let them sit at the table. Rather than show me what you got, it might be show me what you're aiming for, which is what an innovation hub is about. It's about innovation, not about, you cannot come to an innovation hub already done, and then you're just showing off your work, which is what happens here in Vegas, by the way. Always work in progress should be the innovation hub and the people participating. These sorts of efforts, because the people who take the plunge, I mean all the efforts, the innovation hub and the people, because the people who take this plunge have a lot to do, and there are long hours, pivots, maybe some heartache. Encountering a velvet rope in a place that claims to be an innovation hub is not a positive at all. Deny first does not work with aspirations. We read about on LinkedIn about this being the next Silicon Valley or Hollywood 2.0 and all the sorts of innovation going on. Whatever comes along, if it's happening in Vegas, then it's part of the innovation scene. I have bad news for you. If I develop a product somewhere else and I come to Vegas and I show it off, it is not Vegas innovation. It is City as a showcase. We did a whole episode about this. The easy part is letting people in. Allow first. The difficult part is making that change. When deny first is so much easier and so much more prevalent here. And again, that's what I encounter with Michael E. Sherwood and what I encounter with many people in the greater Vegas area. Show me something, do something for me first, or I won't respond or answer or participate in any way. The Genius Lunch example. Remember I said we were going to talk about this. We covered this in a whole episode recently, but to summarize, those pursuing their entrepreneurial endeavors are busy. They're super busy, but also need to and benefit from human interaction, especially when it comes to gossip, commiseration, helpful tips, maybe a referral or two. And by the way, this already worked. So this is not even a new idea. We're rebooting, or we're bringing it back from the days of the Downtown Project. So maybe 10 or 11 years ago, when these were taking place fairly regularly. This can happen over an ad hoc lunchtime meetup, all of these things, at a coffee shop or a fast casual restaurant perhaps, where you might meet a fellow entrepreneur. They don't have to be doing the same thing as you are, by the way. Entrepreneurialism is sort of a nice horizontal point of familiarity. You could break bread, have a chat, and get back to work. Easy. No need to commit all day. No need to posture. I reached out to 15 people, hoping to find about 3 to 5 who would be interested enough to ask 1 or 2 of their fellow entrepreneurs to also join in. So we might get a little 7 to 10 person lunchtime chat to happen for that first outing, the first inaugural reboot Genius Lunch. This proved too difficult, so the inaugural Genius Lunch reboot has yet to happen. Again, it was supposed to be the 4th and the 11th of June this month. Cannot get people to commit, much less respond. Honestly, reaching out to people I do not know is probably more likely to get some interest if they are new to the area, less jaded perhaps. Unfortunately, I know a lot of jaded people. I might even be their leader. But the people I reached out to they're all entrepreneurs. They're all doing something. I know you're busy, but you can respond to an email. Guess what? People who don't respond, I'm not interested in you. One of the caveats for the Genius Lunch is it is not a monolithic notion with one central planner. I'm not a fan of central planning for things like this. The idea in this new rebooted form, and this was not true of the Genius Lunch of old, but this was, it was like a smaller group. It was really focused more on Downtown Project people or people adjacent. So it wasn't reaching quite that far, but think big. We need to enable the Genius Lunch concept, the meetups, the use of that time, and the connections that would come from those meetups across multiple gatherings. one single organizer cannot possibly scale a small, fast-moving sit-down like this in a real innovation hub because there's so much going on. There's so much innovation, so much entrepreneurialism, more than one person, multiple meetups, different parts of town. These are all on the table, so to speak, because in order to be really valuable, you have to have people interacting. The greater Vegas area is known for its silos. People want to keep to themselves or keep to the people they already know. They don't really branch out. This is not universally true. Don't come at me with, I reach out all the time. That's great. Keep doing it. And in fact, invite a friend. I'll see you at the Genius Lunch. The idea is to keep it light and open, enabling these conversations without much expectation, and to hopefully find people who are willing to be you don't have to be the leader, but you do have to show some leadership and say, hey, I'm going to pick a place. I'm going to invite 2 friends. They can invite 2 friends. If everybody shows up, that's 7 people right there. 7 people who surely can take an hour. You pick a place that's geographically centric, a centroid, if you like, and meet up for an hour and go back to doing whatever it was you're doing. But we are not there yet. I have another example that sort of dovetails off that. The board member search example. As you may know, I am the managing director of a nonprofit here, a Nevada nonprofit called the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, formerly the Code for Vegas Foundation, and then formerly the Code for Vegas thing from Code for America. I think it was pre-Brigade, but essentially a Code for America Brigade. And I mentioned that at the top of the episode. And as our 3rd fiscal year comes to an end at this in June 30th this month, I am seeking 2 or more individuals who are interested and interesting to join our board of directors for the coming year or longer. We actually have 1-year terms, so people can just not re-up. So if it's not fitting into their schedule, or if they have other pursuits, maybe they have a conflict of interest brewing, and they'd rather just not have to worry about that, the term automatically ends unless you want to renew it. So we have 2 open board seats. I'm a board member still, obviously. And then growing the board to 5, I think, would be appropriate at this point in our life. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The expectations are really small to join our board of directors for the coming year. The expectations would be that you are interested in nonprofit governance. It's not a huge ask. And a couple of hours over the entire year, if we have quarterly board meetings that tend to be about an hour, an annual meeting at the end, maybe ad hoc now and then. Telling the story to those who will listen, perhaps the most valuable thing, just being in the messaging space. Hey, this is what this nonprofit's doing, and I'm a part of it. No hands-on initiative work expected nor turned down, so that sometimes confuses people. Like, oh, I'm not a programmer. I thought we solved that when we changed our name. As an experiment, I emailed my standard referral request that I've been sending out for about 2 months now. Sent this out, a request blurb, to anyone who responded to my Genius Lunch invite, anyone who has responded to an email in the last 6 weeks or so that was sort of leaning in this direction, like being involved in something. Anyone in the Vegas area in particular, so I would like to have some local presence and interest. There are some people in the civic volunteerism space and some people that are not in the greater Vegas area. So this was about 6 or 7 Genius Lunch respondents, a couple of other local folks, and a few people out of state. I think about 15 emails in the last month. Basically in the month of June, last week of May. So let's call it a month. So about 15 emails sent out. 2 replies, only 2, even from people who just responded to the Genius Lunch email. Oh, hey, since you're reading and responding to emails, keep in mind, I was not inviting people to be directors or to consider it. This was a referral blurb. I was asking for referrals if they knew anyone, including themselves, but not necessarily. And I made that clear, who I could reach out to or who might join in on a weekly office hours call. They don't have to join weekly, but they could jump in, and if they are curious, we have them weekly. Or have a specific meetup if they want, if it fits into their schedule, to discuss anything at all. 2 responses, neither from people here in Vegas. One of those 2 from someone not in the United States, someone I met when I was in Dubai, in fact. Let me put too fine a point on it. The people in Vegas who might be interested in having a Genius Lunch organized for them are not responsive when they are asked to take some sort of pro-action, like responding to an email as simply as, I don't know of anyone. Instead, we have silence. This is the Vegas way. The drive to excellence is something I listed as a specific thing in my Vegas Lax paper that I wrote about 2 years ago. I want to say there was like 15 things. I should revisit that document. For all of the lights and fun on the strip, is that excellent? Is the rest of this area excellent? Whether it is or not, the real question is, do the people around Greater Vegas have the drive to be excellent, to go one step farther or further, to lift up and say, hey, this is already excellent enough. We're done. Like, could it be a little bit more excellent? As with most things, especially things that involve people, there's no one single answer to this, but I would say we definitely have an 80-20-ish problem here. Thanks, Pareto. So 80% of the people have 20% of any drive to be excellent. 20% have 80% of the drive to be excellent, or the drive to excellence, if you like. That's a little bit out of whack, but that is reality. That's not unexpected. It isn't quite that easy. I usually favor the 1-9-90 breakdown, where 1%-ish, I mean, we have a ratio that adds up to 100. So sure, 1% are doing, they're leading the charge, they're coming up with an idea and doing it. They're not waiting around. 9% are maybe supportive of the 1%, but do not initiate. So if somebody says, hey, we're doing this, oh, can I participate? They're in the 9%. And the 90% are just spectators. They're going to watch from the bleachers. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, what's she doing? Huh, let's look over here. Let's look. Oh, yeah. Should we get? No, we're not getting involved. No. We're just going to watch. If things work out, we might take advantage. We'll rush the field and enjoy the successes. Sometimes one person is in the 1%. Sometimes that same person is in the 90%. That is actually okay. It's probably better. We cannot be universally driven across all domains, but some drive across at least one domain, like doing something excellent, could be more common here than it is. It could be, but can it be? Not to diminish the value of excellence. It is not necessarily common, but the drive to be excellent should be more common. More people should be interested in doing something extraordinary. It doesn't have to end that way, but they are interested in driving towards it. We could know that is something that is going on here. We could hear about it. We could see it. We could read about it. But is it? It concerns me that so much effort is put into, and I'm not to say that this is bad on its own. There's so much effort put into publicizing through content creator. Some of them receive money from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. There are websites dedicated to, hey, you can visit Las Vegas. I think also paid for by the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Here's all the fun you can have. The fun economy is going strong. It's having a little downturn now with tourism and tariffs and whatnot. But that receives all the attention. Does any content creator in Vegas wander over to a startup-oriented meetup? Anybody focusing on the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem? Anybody talking about life on the ground, elevating our communities? Not really. Not so much. It's really more for tourists and visitors. Being the 9% does not require massive commitment. Oh, wait, did I skip this? Sorry, I started in the middle of this bullet item. We would see this show up most obviously in the 9% band if people were going to be generally more proactive with more of a drive to excellence. If there is an opportunity for something to be better, to approach excellence, but you don't have the time or wherewithal, can you be supportive of someone or something? Maybe someone's, multiple people, but you don't have the time or wherewithal, so that's fine. But can you be supportive of something or someone's that do? Can you maybe provide some referrals? Hint. Maybe respond to emails. Double hint. Express some thoughts or ideas. Provide some feedback. Offer an opinion. Being in the 9% does not require massive commitment, but it does require taking some interest and offering some minimal value contribution of some sort. This needs a lot of work. It doesn't mean it requires a lot of work, but the fact that this is so hard to come by here is the thing that needs a lot of work. If this is to be an innovation hub, here's my view. I visited the Becker Tech Center website while I was writing this episode. This will be for another episode in the future, exactly what the Becker Tech Center was supposed to be and what it might be today. I haven't actually visited in person since their grand opening a couple years ago. But basically, this is a city park site. So it's run by the city, Parks and Recreation. It was co-funded or co-founded, I guess, or some money was donated from what's his name? It's the Becker family. It's a couple, Betty something and Betty Becker. I can't remember his name. My apologies to the Becker family. But the Becker Tech Center, they gave money towards this technology center, which is a city park site. So it has the city park trappings, grass, basketball court, areas for if you want to have an outdoor meetup, gathering, picnic, birthday party. But it also has STEAM resources. That's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Has those resources, including 3D printers, computers to be used for game dev and esports, some nice interior spaces for project work and so on along these lines, and a media center for producing podcasts, among other things. This was when they launched a couple of years ago. Today, they only have STEAM classes. I think it's 3 times per day across 2 days for the summer. Now, when they first opened, when they first got up and running, they had a full calendar of possibilities. This calendar has become very thin with a few sessions across the 2 days. Where did this go? Where did it go so boring? The people I've encountered in the Vegas area seem to really like hanging a lot of their work, hanging a lot on the work of others. I've said this many times. The tech and startup scene boils down to one Saturday each month. Let's hope not. But this really is the view of many, unfortunately. Although I have to say, from what I understand, the turnout has been about the same. I think stagnation, the startup stagnation scene, showing up to a monthly event gets you over that velvet rope, I guess. You can jump over it initially. Merely showing up is not magical, and it does not do any real work. Showing up might be 80% if you are Woody Allen. And I always say, well, it's also the other 20%. But showing up is the beginning. It is not the end. It's not the whole. Odds are the connections you make are transactional in such settings. Throw in a few other high-profile gatherings, which get the attention and support of some of the more well-known people around town, especially those with money. And you're in. But you're in what, though? I talk about discovery all the time. It remains a problem. You had no idea the Becker Tech Center existed, right? They call it Becker Tech because there is a generally poor effort given towards enabling discovery. Our local media and general emphasis on fun and crime don't help. And the best way to solve it, the discovery problem, or at least mitigate it, is to be more proactive about inviting a friend, informing a colleague, mentioning an effort in your travels. I posted it to my Facebook page. That doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Be active. Be proactive. Posting on social media is the least amount of effort possible. A group effort, which I often liken to the entire food truck marketplace, as you know I like to talk about, as I encountered it in the Bay Area more than a decade ago. It really is about the long tail. In the food truck marketplace in the Bay Area, they would cross-promote each other. They were always talking about all the other food trucks. Why? Because if someone can't visit your business, your food truck, but they can visit someone else's, I've never been to a food truck before. That was great. Well, if you liked my friend's food truck, maybe you'll like mine. Why don't you come to an event that I'm at sometime? So if you're always trying to get your friends to be successful and they're doing the same, that works. So it really is about the long tail, getting something back later for your interests and efforts now, possibly from a completely unexpected direction. I shouldn't expect a return in my investment of time and effort in one person. It might come from the people that they make connections with or the people that they impact later, and it might come back to me from behind me. It might, although in Vegas, you got to be careful of that, but it might come from a completely different direction. So being proactive will often return in unexpected ways. And that's just how life works if you're doing it right. This is simply not how the culture of Greater Vegas area has evolved, though. Hopefully it is not finished evolving. Is it finished evolving? Can we cultivate a culture of innovation and a platform on which to build these realities that we talk about as though they have already come to pass? Can we commingle fun and future? I would like to think so, but I'm not so sure. Oh, Vegas. I'm often asked, well, why are you in Vegas? Well, some engineers like a challenge. And every once in a while, you'll come across the double black diamond, I guess it is. I'm not a skier, but I feel like we're on such a hill right now. Often it is an uphill climb, but sometimes it's a dangerous downhill sprint. We will find out. Yeah, I have some concerns about what's going on in Vegas. I wish that there were more people that were proactive and interested in the 1% range that I described. There probably are. How do we connect with them? How do we discover them? Hey, come to a genius lunch. Well, I don't know everybody, but someone I know might know that person, and so on and so on. Could be a good shampoo commercial. So if you can invite someone to come to it, not just post it on Meetup and who knows what you're going to get. I've been there, I've done that. It's just not worth it. But if you can enable connections between people who are entrepreneurial, who are being innovative, not necessarily you don't have to, I'm not working on an app. That's okay. You're doing something entrepreneurial. I encountered that with one person I invited to the lunch. They maintain a mailing list product and a website about the goings on in Vegas. Now, I haven't broached the topic, but clearly a focus on the fun economy, that's kind of a given. Could also focus on the entrepreneurial ecosystem and so on, but we're not there yet. But this person said, well, I don't know. I just have this little thing. So I pulled up his LinkedIn profile. This is via email. I pulled up his LinkedIn profile. I highlighted how he describes what he's doing. Founded a thing and operating it 3 years later and so on. I said, I don't know about you. This seems to be entrepreneurial. Whoever this person is entrepreneurial. So if you don't think you are, put me in touch with this person. So maybe it's just that people don't recognize that they are entrepreneurial because they're not building a unicorn app or something. Our culture has a way to go. We'll find out. Oh, Vegas. Thanks for listening as always. Fun fact, if you've listened all the way to the end, you get to find out that tomorrow's my birthday. I will assume a happy birthday wishing. I certainly wouldn't expect people to send me an email or other messaging. Maybe just share this around with your friends. That would be present gift enough. Take care.